We're taking the tail of the Dragon. As you can see, the speed limit is a maximum of 30 miles an hour. This is Saturday. It is a absolute madhouse with car clubs and motorcycles and two-way through local traffic, and it's also a spotty shower, so the road is a little bit slick in places. So we've got a lot of car clubs, so enjoy the ride, everybody. I am going to now be focusing on my driving. This is the third time on the Dragon, just still trying to figure out the KPIs on my JCW Countryman to see what we're gonna have to tweak when we get back home. But I hope everybody that's watching will enjoy the ride and all the hairpin turns, and this is why I love it. This is why I articulate it so much with my drive as leadership, because you do not know what's coming at you next, but you've got to be prepared at what it is so that you can be able to slay the day, slay the dragon, so to speak. So here we go. We have now entered the twisties, and I am going to now focus on enjoying the ride. And I've got my husband up. He's my spotter. He's actually behind me in our JCW coupe. He's to keep the guys off of me that are coming up, that are driving fast with the motorcycles, because I'm still learning this car. So he's trying not to get them too close on me where I feel nervous in this one. Every car handles differently on the Dragon. You have to know where your abilities are, but you've got to also know what your abilities are driving that new car, whatever it may be. So it does take a little bit of time. I've driven this since, gosh, 20 plus years we've been driving the Dragon, but we've had different cars, and with the lower, smaller ones handle better for us because we've got them tricked out. They're able to hug the roads, but the more beefy ones, mini like I have now, which is the four-wheel drive, when it is in sport, it lowers the suspension and it is equally as dynamic in driving. So now we've come up on some of the motorcycles. Looks like somebody might have had an accident, and that is the things that you have to watch for on the Dragon. Stay between the yellow and the white lines is super important so that you don't have an accident. You've got to also be watching in front of you because we're in the mountains. There is wildlife. We have seen bears and deer and all kinds of things crossing the road. You've got to watch out for those motorcycles because they hug the yellow line, and when they're coming around the curve, they're actually leaning over in your lane. So this is not to be driven if you are a nervous Nelly. I would not recommend it. Find another detour route because this is not for the faint of heart. There's too much going on, and really isn't that how it is at our leadership? If you are not mentally prepared, physically prepared, and to be able to handle that role, you don't need to be in it, because there are a lot of decisions that come at you, a lot of hairpin curves that you are not, experienced with, but you've got to have the confidence in who you are as a leader to be able to slay them one by one, because trust me, I've been in a leadership role for 20 plus years now. Every time that I think I've seen it all, there's more that keeps coming. Now we're at the first paparazzi, and he is trying to make sure I'm staying in between the lines so that I don't get on his wall of shame. So I'm gonna just settle in now and let you enjoy the ride. One thing about it is this: I don't necessarily like roller coasters. I know it's crazy that I like these twisty roads, but it's a control freak for me. I think that is why I like a leadership role, is because I like to assess the situations, determine the strategies, and figure what is the most appropriate action to take. And that's why I like driving cars, and I like driving them fast. I like modding them to my particular style, because I am very heavily involved in it, just as I am in my leadership role. So just as I'm looking in front of me, as I mentioned, my husband right now is behind me, but most of the time we're driving separately on the Dragon. So he's behind me right now to keep people off of me. I have to watch my rear view mirror because you will all of a sudden have motorcycles up, and if you can find an appropriate way to slow down and let them pass, that is what you need to do. It keeps everybody safe. But you've got to watch that traffic coming up behind us, because even though this is a public road, it is owned, let's put it this way, by a car enthusiast on the weekends and any given day here in the mountains of North Carolina through spring and summer. So it's a lot of activity. Again, if you are nervous, Nelly, this is not where you want to be. I'm also coming up now on the next paparazzi who's getting us as we're coming through. And we're getting past some fellow minis and motorcycles and all the twisties. So one of the things that you don't want to do here on the Dragon, and it's an amateur mistake that I've made when we first started driving it, is riding the brake. I couldn't find my rhythm, and I was riding the brake a lot. I think that that's how we are when we first step in our leadership role, because we haven't gained our confidence, and so we don't have that confidence to execute decisions quickly and fast, and that comes with age and wisdom and knowledge and experience, and the same applies with driving the Dragon. So as I mentioned, my first couple of times 20 plus years ago, I was riding the brake. It's not a good thing, because by the time that you get through the 11 miles, 318 hairpin turns, your brakes are on fire. And I've had a couple of times in those first riding through that I've got to the end, and my brakes were actually red, smoking, and I didn't have any by the time that I got to the end. I was actually using my emergency brake. So again, there are all these things that you learn as you drive it over the years. So like right now, behind my husband, I've got another Mini who is wanting to go hard and fast, and I'm driving slow, so it's going to irritate him in a few minutes. And this is where you can't allow them to push you too fast. You've got to keep and maintain composure, because one wrong move, driving out of your abilities, not paying attention, can cause an accident. So for the ones that want to push you, you just you have to keep them in check, and that's what we have to do in leadership. We've got to we've got to be consciously aware, have situational awareness of what's going on, but we can't allow that to make us nervous and to make irrational decisions. Our decisions always need to be made in a calm, collected manner, so that we are running our business and our team not in a crisis management mode. So now I'm coming up on another Mini who's driving a little slower. So I am going to respect that, and I'm not going to ride them too much and make them nervous, because I would not want them to do the same for me when I was first starting out. So it's a busy day on the Dragon. We've got a lot of motorcycles. Like, I cannot stress to you how many motorcycles we have out there. Plus, it's the last day for Minis on the Dragon. So all of the Minis here are getting their last drive in. We've got a lot of other car enthusiasts on the Dragon. They're testing their abilities, and we've got a lot more photographers out today catching all of the activity. And we're all trying to catch these drives before the rain comes in, because rain is expected. And then when that happens, you have mudslides, you have tree limbs falling, you have so that lady was kind enough, I was backed off of her, but she was feeling nervous, so she allowed us to pass safely. And that's what we do. We find those areas where we can allow other people to move. And right now I'm feeling pretty confident in my driving. This is the third or fourth time that I've been here on my JCW Countryman, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable. So I'm going to make that Mini that is a couple of cars behind my husband. We're just going to kind of make him wait for a little bit until I can find an area where I can let him pass. I'm going to pick up the speed now because I know this area and feel pretty confident that I can take it. Again, coming up to another one of the photographers, being aware of them, and we've got some pass-through traffic locals on the other side, and here we go. So this is why I love driving the Dragon. It's challenging. It's a lot of moving parts to it. When I first drove it, I was nervous. When I first drove in my leadership role, I was nervous. I did not feel I was equipped to do it. A lot of it I was doing by instinct, and then I learned as I went along how to perfect that role, and I'm still learning. I don't think as a leader that you are ever at the peak of your experience or the peak of your knowledge. It is real world experience. There are just different things that you're going to learn along the way and things that you're going to experience. Who would have ever thought that we would have experienced economic fallouts, and we're not too sure that that's not what we're going to be looking at anytime in the near future. We have to be mindful of that and be planning ahead as if it's going to happen, not when it's going to happen, because by that time you are irrational, you are in crisis mode. Again, leadership, part of that is being situational awareness of what's coming up in front of you and what's coming up behind you. You've got to learn how to navigate and adjust course as needed. So a few minutes ago I just passed a bunch of potholes, you know, those kind of things that can, if you hit them, can blow your tire out, can cause you to cross over in the other lane. That's one of the things that I keep mentioning. Stay between the lines, know your driving abilities, know your car, have the situational awareness of all the things that are coming in front of you, and check to see what the driver behind you, how irrational that they're going to be. So we knew this guy, he wanted to go a little hard and fast, so I found an appropriate area where my husband and I both could pull off together and allow him to pass so that he could enjoy his driving abilities a little bit faster than where I was going. Again, most of our minis are modded completely out, tricked out, ready for speed, ready for handling. But this new one that I have, I'm just trying to figure out what its capabilities are and how fast I can take the turn. So I am taking it a little slower than I normally will, or even will be by the time that I do it a couple more times today. Again, don't drive outside of your skill set. You got to level up slowly at your pace, The other thing is not to, you have enough distractions as it is, so don't add fuel to it. I have CarPlay music that I do for long drives and twisties, but on the Dragon I do not listen to music because I'm trying to focus on the traffic that's coming in front of me. I'm also focusing on the traffic that's coming up behind me, motorcycles, minis, whatever the cars are, just so I can gauge where they are and where I am, and how I'm going to handle it if they are aggressive in nature. So again, I have already counted. There's probably been at least 6 of the photographers out, and I'm only probably, I haven't seen the mile marker lately, but I think I'm about halfway through. So my husband now, he's like, she's getting a little confident, so now he's trying to trail me, which I love. So we got a motorcycle coming up. So what I will be doing next is trying to find an appropriate place to allow him to pass safely once I can kind of get around this curve here. So this is what you do. Keep everybody safe, and you keep going. Allow him to get by because he wants to go by fast. We've got another car who's feeling nervous, so he's already moved over. And did I mention it's 318 miles and 318 hairpin curves and 11 miles. You get to the end, you let your car kind of cool down, and you turn around and do it all over again. And you do it over and over and over again, however many times you want, as you're testing your car and your abilities. It's like that most favorite drive that you don't want it to end, that you look forward to doing it every year. Or if you're close by, you're going to do a detour because you know you absolutely want to drive it. So I'm almost to the end now. As you can see, there'll be an overlook, and that means that I'm getting that'll be up soon, the scenic overlook that we can take, and then we'll get to the end and allow the car to cool down, and we'll do it all over again. So leadership, isn't it like that? We have our drive into work and our drive into our profession every day, and we're like, we're just praying it might be some days like a driving this daisy, because mentally maybe we are not prepared for what's coming, and we just hope that we would get a break where we didn't have a crisis or a fire to put out. But it's never that way. I can tell you, every day I have a task list of things that I'm going to do, and I have them in prioritized, and I know the ones that I can shift to other days that are less important. But I will tell you this, every day, as best as I try to plan it out, there are those hairpin curves that come up, and I just try to navigate them as best as I can while still accomplishing the task list that I had to set out for the day. You have to be disciplined but flexible in your role as a leader. You have to be calm, but you've got to be strategic in your planning and be able to make decisions rationally, based on facts, not hearsay. That is the one thing that drives me crazy, I think, is that sometimes we don't have all the information, and you feel pressure to make decisions, and I don't do that. I don't make decisions when I am in an irrational state of mind where my emotions are not in check, because I do not feel that for me, I don't feel that I am able to make the best and most wisest decision in that mindset. But these are just some of the things of why I like the Dragon. The skill set, you've got to learn to hug that line. Put your tire right close to that white line as you're coming through the circle. As the curves, it hugs better. You've got to watch the signs, because they tell you when the twisties or the high banks are coming, what you're going to need to do in terms of shifting. And I will tell you, I've got a lot of minis. I've had a lot of minis through the years. I've had automatics, I've had manuals, we've had all different ones. For me, I actually prefer the manuals because you are really controlling the car, and I think that you are more in tune with the car and with the drive itself. Not to say that I don't like driving this one, which is an automatic. It's a JCW. I've got it thrown in sport mode. It goes 306 horsepower. But I've got it tuned to go a lot faster than that. So my reason for driving slower on this one is it's not that I don't know my skill set. I don't know the car that well, so I'm having to learn where its break point is, so to speak, because here's two things. I have driven outside of my skill set twice, and twice because I pushed it too hard, because I wasn't prepared. I didn't know where the car's brake point was, and I came around one of these hairpin curves. It was a rainy day. The car slid out behind me and started sliding, and I was narrowly escaped going over the side of a mountain. So that I always keep that in mind when I'm driving the Dragon. I don't want to ever get in that situation. However, you've got to drive it to that point. You've got to know where your limitations are. And isn't that how it is in leadership? That we drive our leadership hard and fast. I think when we're passionate about it, when we're confident and we're in our zone, we are driving it hard and fast. But we also know where our break point on. When it's time to call in a consultant, when it's time to phone a friend because we need help. We don't allow our egos to get the best of us, because it's not good for our business, and it's not good for our team, and it's not good for us as a leader. So we know when it's time to sit on the sidelines and let someone else come in that has a more open mind, is neutral, can assess the situation, can tell us where our break points are and things, and where our KPIs are, and what we need to do to tweak our leadership. The same applies with race car drivers. Don't get behind the wheel if you are not capable of driving at the level of its demands. And the same is in leadership. And I will say this to any business person, and you are looking to put someone in a leadership, yes, I'm all for promoting from within. I think it's fantastic. And I'm going to stop right there, because you see this guy over here? This is the Popo. This is the Tennessee State Police, and he is just looking to find somebody who is not driving safely, so that he can stop them. So anyway, we're at the end. I am letting my car cool down. You'll see some of the other ones. My husband is letting his. You do that so that the car can cool down, the brakes can cool down, and you can keep the oil from clogging up. But that's it.